morning, dear respected Thai, dear Suko, dear brothers and sisters, dear noble community. Thank you for being here, for practicing together. Today is the Sunday, the 30th of November in the year 2025, and we are here in Stillwater Meditation Hall during our 3 months winter retreat. And today is the first Advent, so it's like a special day. And just to think of that, I have a little tea light in front of me, just to think of the first candle that is being lit today, to remember that it's the first Advent. And so tomorrow we will start with the month of December. And the month of December is a month with celebrations. Also, Advent is a reminder for us, or like also a kind of preparation for us to get ready for Christmas. And so it's a time for us to come home, and I think that's a real invitation to come home to ourselves. And I think in terms of like coming home and having this connection with each other, of course, I think the connection really to ourselves and to our own body is very important, so that we feel connected. And on the other side of connection is a feeling of loneliness, and we may have the impression that there is some kind of vacuum inside of us that we would like to fill, maybe with technology, maybe with the news. But the good news is because news is not always good news, but the good news is that we have a way of connecting to ourselves, and that is just, it doesn't cost anything, and you cannot buy it, nobody can give it to us, and it's very simple, and that is to come back to our mindful breathing, and to come back to our body, and to bring the energy of peace inside of our body, our feelings, inside of our mind. And very often what makes it difficult is that we have a tendency to think quite a lot. And I think also in this coming month, we may all have the tendency to think about what we are going to do, because it's approaching the end of the year, and there's Christmas, there's New Year, there's maybe things for us to finish before the end of the year. And so there may be many things to think about. And Thai has introduced a term, and that is the radio of non-stop thinking. So NST, non-stop thinking. And so for that reason, like the invitation is for us to, when we sit, to really focus our attention on our mindful breathing. And when we walk, to really arrive in each step, and really to feel, to be present in our body, and to really feel the connection with the earth, to feel the connection with our body. So we can also bring our minds at peace and our minds to rest. So for us, like to write something on the board. So we can think of ourselves in different compartments, so to say, but they're connected to each other. So however we want to call it, like body and mind, or body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, we have different aspects that we can bring our peace and joy into. So we have our body, and our mindful breathing is also like a bodily function. Our breathing is something very automatically that happens, and it's a wonder. And so joy and happiness don't always need to be far away. Just by breathing in and breathing out, we are aware that we are alive, and that is a miracle. It's a miracle to be alive, because we know there is impermanence, and we may not always be able to breathe in and breathe out. But right now, we are able to breathe in and to breathe out. And so we can be aware of it. And so the Buddha, he made a guided meditation that he recommended to us that we can practice to bring some peace, some relaxation, and some joy into our body. And so, first of all, the Buddha started with becoming aware of the in and of the out breath, just recognizing the in-breath as an in-breath and the out-breath as an out-breath. It's not very difficult, but it's easy to forget. And it's easy to just breathe without being aware that we are breathing. I know it sounds boring, but actually it is something very simple, and at the same time it's also so effective. It's so effective to come back to ourselves and to connect to our body and not be lost in our thinking. Then the second is we can become aware of the whole length of our in-breath and the whole length of our out-breath from the beginning to the end. So there's no interruption. We start our in-breath, and then the end of the in-breath, and then the beginning of the out-breath, and the end of the out-breath. We follow our in and our out-breath all the way through. And the third exercise that the Buddha proposed was to become aware of our body. So it's like body awareness. Because very often we are not very present for our body. So we can sit, we can work, we can walk, but we are not really present for what is happening inside of our body. And so this is a way of practicing coming home, and also to bring some peace and some relaxation into our body. And this is done on the level of the body, it's done on the level of the feelings, and on the level of our mind, and the objects of mind, our perceptions. Because mind like subject and object, they always go together. So the fifth is like being able to generate a feeling of joy. And it's, as I mentioned before, it does not need to be very difficult. We can be joyful just by knowing that we can breathe in and that we can breathe out and that we are alive. And that's the good news. We are alive in this very present moment. And because we are alive, we are able to generate a feeling of joy. Once we die, I think it will become quite difficult. And when our joy becomes a bit deeper, just by breathing in, breathing out, we generate more calm and we generate more peace, and we can feel happy. And happiness is just a kind of a joy that has a bit more peace and relaxation in it. It is something that has a bit more stability. And then also, of course, we don't always only have pleasant feelings. It's sometimes a little bit interrupted, this microphone. Anyway. Like we can also be aware of unpleasant feelings, or like unpleasant, painful feelings. So it's becoming aware. And painful feelings may have very different forms. Like sometimes we are sad, sometimes we are angry, sometimes we are jealous. We try to give it the best name that we can think of. And so we become aware of it. And then we can also bring some peace. We are really present for it, and we bring our mindfulness, we bring into it, and this kind of like knot that it may be quite stiff, maybe quite unpleasant. It's really like a knot. It's very hard. It can soften, and so we kind of like we embrace. We embrace the feelings that are there, painful feelings. And very much with the mind, we follow a similar trajectory, like becoming aware of the mind. What is there? We just practiced with the feelings. They're not separate from the mind. And we are gladdening our mind. It also means we bring pleasant feelings in our mind. We're gladdening the mind, and then we can concentrate our mind. And for concentration, it is quite important that we know the practice of bringing peace and happiness, peace and joy into our body, into our feelings, into our mind. So our mind can concentrate. And because our mind can concentrate, we can get a deep insight, or our mind can attain right view. And also right view that goes along with impermanence, with no self, with the insight of interbeing. And so over here we have the beautiful logo of Plum Village and the Smriti Samadhi Prajna. And so we can see that these are the exercises of mindful breathing. And mindfulness gives rise to concentration. Concentration gives rise to insight. And in Buddhism, insight is something that can liberate us. And that's, I find, very good news, because it's an insight that we can generate by ourselves, and we are not dependent on forces from outside, like that somebody else can give it to us for Christmas, for example. But to see, like, actually it is something, it's a gift that we can offer ourselves. And so I'd like to combine this a little bit with, we bring peace in our body, in our feelings, in our mind, and in the objects of mind. And so that's why the first fruit of our practice is peaceful dwelling. Peaceful dwelling. In the present moment. If I remember correctly, that's the Chinese character. So it means like the first, or like a very important part of our practice is to generate the energy of peace and the energy of calm into our body, into our feelings, into our mind. Maybe I'll sit down again. I think this practice of peaceful dwelling is so wonderful because it is a medicine against restlessness. So we bring some peace, we bring some calm into our body, into our feelings. It is a medicine against restlessness, and I think restlessness is one of the greatest illnesses of our time. Maybe not only of our time, but also in our time. So I see that in us we have a tendency to find something to do, to keep ourselves busy. And so even if we can enjoy the present moment because we do not have anything to do. We can just sit down, we can drink a cup of tea, we can practice total deep relaxation. It's very pleasant just to lie down, not do anything, lie in the hammock, enjoying our time. But very often we have a tendency to still find something to do because our mind is not at peace. So we look for something to do. So we can always look at our phone. That's the wonderful thing. Maybe it's a mixed blessing, to say the least. So we have our phone and we can look, like even actually we don't really have anything to do, but maybe there's a message, maybe we received an email, maybe we received a message that we can look at, maybe we can look at the news. And I think this is a way of trying to deal with unpleasant feelings inside of us, like not wanting to face it, like not having a peace of mind, and then just trying to occupy our minds and keeping us busy. So I remember one time we were on a hiking retreat in the US in 2018, and there was one participant, and he found it very difficult to be without his phone. So, like during every break, he tried to get out the phone and he read what is actually happening, or if he can find something. And so I thought, like, it was not easy for him just to sit during a break. We don't have anything to do. We can just enjoy being together. We can just allowing our bodies to rest. But it was not easy for him. And so even though he's a practitioner, or like he signed up for a hiking retreat, like it's not easy. And so to really establish peaceful state of mind, dwelling peacefully in our true home, in our body, in our feelings, in our mind, to see that that is our kingdom, and we are the king and the queen, and we can establish peace in these areas. And the second is that we can dwell happily in the present moment when we really practice, and we have a song, and that is, "I have arrived, I'm home." And all the practices that we have, we can always be reminded that we do it in the spirit of, "I have arrived, I'm home. There's nowhere else to go. I can settle in this present moment, and everything is available. I don't need to go anywhere else. Everything is available for me to be happy in this present moment. There are enough conditions for me to be happy." So let us sing the song together, "I have arrived, I am home." And to see that solidity and freedom are possible in this very moment. I have arrived, I am home. In the here and in the That's great. We dwell in the ultimate. And we have stability and freedom. And so if we practice this really deeply, I've arrived, I'm home, then stability and freedom are also there. And these are two characteristics of nirvana, stability and freedom. And of course we have a way of looking at things that can help us to touch this dimension. And one practice, one fruit is the practice of interbeing. To see that everything is connected, that we are not separate self-entities. So also in this winter retreat, we have focused on teachings that have a lot to do with touching our true nature, and to recognize that there's no separate self-entity. So we are all connected to one another. For me, I will also write down the fourth. It's attaining the insight of our no birth, no death nature. So one practice that we have is the practice of touching the earth. And for example, in the incense offering, before we touch the earth, we have a gatha, and it's actually it's a way of contemplation. It's a way of contemplating, and the contemplation is as follows: the one who bows and the one who is bowed to are both by nature empty. So we see that the Buddha is not something outside of ourselves, because the Buddha and we inter-are. If there would be something unchanging, like some kind of a core, that this is me, and that is unchangeable, and the Buddha has the same, then it's very hard to have a deep connection. And so it's a way of looking. Actually, the connection is very deep, because we are both by nature empty. And if we talk about the Buddha, then who do we think the Buddha is? And so this is a question of contemplation. Maybe we think, okay, well, I read about the Buddha, and he's an historical figure, and he lived around 2,500 years ago. And that is the Buddha. But of course, if we look a little bit more deeply, we see that the Buddha is impermanent, like all phenomena, and has no self-nature. So we see that the Buddha, 35 years old, is not exactly the same Buddha as 45 years old, or 55 years old, or 80 years old. So we see that we have maybe an idea of the Buddha as being one person with continuity, like he was born and then he dies, and this is one person. But actually, if we look a little bit more deeply, we see actually there's limited amounts of Buddhas, because the Buddha was changing from moment to moment. Because also his body is like a river, is like a stream, changing in every moment. His feelings, the mind, with what he was in touch with, the objects of mind, his environment. It's changing in every moment. So when we see the deep connection between us, then we establish a very deep relationship. And so the communication between them is inexpressibly perfect because of this interbeing nature. And so this is for us a contemplation. When we touch the earth, and we see that we are separate of a permanent self, and everything is changing. And we see the same thing is true for the Buddha. And so we touch our own Buddha nature, and we see that everything is possible thanks to emptiness, thanks to our interbeing nature. Pretty good tea. Thank you. Thank you. Don't know exactly who the Sangha offered it. So thank you. It's very nice sitting here. I also see that actually drinking tea is also an opportunity to practice meditation, or also to look deeply. Of course, I also see, when I sit down and I prepare a cup of tea, and I know there's some friends in Upper Hamlet, they really enjoy drinking tea, and so do I. But it can also, of course, be coffee, or we're practicing being open for any kind of drink, something that we like to drink. And so, of course, I see that it can help me dwell peacefully, because when I drink tea, I have nowhere to go, and I have nothing to do. So it really helps me to enjoy the moment, sit together, be happy. I have arrived, I am home. Yeah, nowhere else to go. And of course I can also practice, look deeply, or look at the interbeing nature of the tea, and to see actually, tea, where do you come from? And then maybe the tea says I have nowhere to go, and I have nothing to do. And I think that's very true. So we can actually see that also this tea, if we look deeply, it comes from many places. So it's just reborn as tea. It's reborn as tea, so it's kind of like a new life. But before that, we see, before the birth of the tea, we see it in many other forms. So when we look deeply, we see the cloud, we see the tea plants, we see the people working on on the fields, we see the sun, we see the minerals in the earth. So we see that everything comes together. And so we see the past lives of the tea. And we see the tea right now, the tea, and we inter-are. And we see that there's a perfect communication. We drink the tea and we see that the tea is also becomes a part of us. And of course it's mostly water, so we can drink the cloud in the tea, be in touch with the cloud. And we can see that the tea becomes becomes a part of us, of our body, of our feelings, of our perceptions, mental formations, consciousness, that they're not separate. And that, very often it's interesting, like when we drink the tea, then we have a kind of language, and we say like the tea is dead. After some times of like pouring the tea, pouring the water into the tea, like we see that the leaves, they don't give so much of a flavor anymore. So we say like the tea is dead. So it's like as if the tea has passed away. And but luckily there's no soul of the tea, that flies up into the sky, or at least that's not how I see it. Flies up in the sky and then finds another tea plant to continue. So we just see that the tea is not really gone. So we can recognize the tea in different forms. Also after the tea has passed away. So we see that the tea becomes a part of us, goes back to the earth, and maybe one day will become a cloud again. But we see that we inter-are, and there's a deep connection. When we eat, we also eat in this awareness. And there's a calligraphy of our teacher, and that is the bread in your hand is the body of the cosmos. And so when we look at the bread, we see that everything comes together for a piece of bread to be possible. And there's so many conditions. And of course we see the sun, and we see earth elements in the bread. And so we see that it's really the body of the cosmos. And it has a continuation in us. And so when we eat, we can be aware of different things. So mindfulness is always being mindful of something. So we can be mindful that it's, for example, we have formal lunch today. We can be mindful of the fact that we have an opportunity to eat together in mindfulness. And so we are nourished by the collective energy of mindfulness of the Sangha. And we recognize that we are not alone. We are coming together as one body, as one Sangha body, without separation. So that is a joy, and at the same time we also recognize the food in our bowl, and we recognize that the food is really, really precious. And it's really precious because there's a lot in the food that we can recognize. A lot a lot of work. The sun is there, the clouds are there, because the rain is very important for us to grow food. The land is very important. All the people who have contributed, the people in the kitchen. So everything comes together, and so we can really see that we can eat when we are mindful. Then naturally a lot of gratitude can come up in our mind, and it helps us to really appreciate the food and to really see how precious it is. It is the body of the cosmos, and we cannot take it for granted. And so it's not so much that we eat for the future, because when we eat, we have energy. We break down certain molecules that help us to have energy. It's not really just for the future. It's also in the spirit of I have arrived, I'm home. And it means that eating is a practice, and we can benefit from this practice right away. And it has the fruit of I've arrived, I'm home. There's nowhere to go. I can feel happy while I'm eating. And so we see that eating is both a way of touching, like the peaceful dwelling, being present for each other, being present for the food, and we can also recognize the interbeing nature in the food, and to recognize that we are not separate. And also that when we look deeply into our food, we see the no birth, no death nature of the food, because we recognize that the carrot has been present in many different forms before, and they all come together in the carrot. So the conditions, they were all there, and then the carrot manifests. So the carrot is more of a manifestation than a creation. And the carrot is being eaten, and if we look deeply, we see like that the carrot actually, and we are not separate, and we become one. Maybe we think more of like the carrot becoming part of us, but maybe we also become part of the carrot, like we inter-are. And so also like during sitting meditation, it's a way for us to nourish ourselves with the energies of peace, with the energies of joy, recognizing the great fortune to sit together with a larger community. And also when we walk, we can practice walking in such a way that we feel that we are part of the stream of the Sangha, not as a single drop of water, but in a way to see that we have nowhere to go, nothing to do, that we let go of the idea of separation. And so we walk in the spirit that we are also the Sangha, and we can invite the Buddha to walk for us. And that is possible because both the Buddha and we ourselves, we are empty of a separate self. And so we can really enjoy our steps, because the Buddha was a professional. He was a professional walking meditator and sitting meditator. So if we, whenever we feel that we can that we want to let go and just relax, sit back, then we just invite the Buddha, or we invite Thai, or we invite Jesus to sit for us, to walk for us, so that we may be nourished by the peace, and we may feel nourished by the deep connection that is between us. And so also this morning, when we were chanting, there's a contemplation before chanting too, and that is like that we breathe as one body, we chant as one body, we listen as one body, to see that we are the Sangha body. And it's not about comparing, like who sings better, who does not sing better, because we sing all together. We are one body. So it's ridiculous to compare us with each other. Like there's no complex, there's no inferiority or superiority, because we see we are one body, and we offer this together. And so we let go of the feeling of a separation. And so it's about transcending the boundaries of a delusive self that separates us from each other. But we see that deep connection. Just 1 minute. Oh no, okay, go ahead. So as it's the first Advent, I'm lucky that I give the talk on the first Advent. Like at the second Advent, you need to hold 2 candles, and the third 3, and then the fourth you need to hold 4 candles. So I'm lucky. But actually, it also is very much also part of a meditation that I would like to do with you. Everything, of course, can become part of meditation. So we have an object of mind, and when we have enough peace, stability, then we can look deeply, we can concentrate our mind. And maybe we can look at the candle in a way that we've not looked before. And so there may be many things to discover in a candle like this. And so meditation is also having the mind of wanting to discover something, maybe something we haven't seen before. And so actually, if we look, we may think, okay, there is a flame. But also if we look very deeply, we see that the flame is always changing. So it's not something permanent, it does not have a permanent self. Because also the wax, it burns, well, the wax is quite homogeneous, but it's a little bit different wax that is burning from moment to moment. So we see that maybe we think of like there's one flame, but actually if we look a little bit deeper, we see that the flame is changing from moment to moment. So it's cinematographic. It's always changing. And so also for us, from moment to moment, like our body, our feelings, everything is changing. So also this candle. And I put it down again, or I put it in front of me. And one time there was Vajragota, and he was very curious. He had a lot of questions to ask to the Buddha, And so in the Majjhima Nikaya, we can see the sutra with Vajragota on fire. So that's the topic, fire. So he was interested in many things. So he also asked kind of 10 different kinds of questions. And also like, are the soul and the body, are they two different things or are they the same? And so like the Buddha said, to all those questions he says like, that does not apply. It's not a good question. And so Vajragota also asked the Buddha, what happens to you? Like very much, like also in the Anuruddha discourse that we've heard come back a couple of times during this winter retreat. Like also Vajragota asked, so what happens to you after you pass away? Like you continue to be, or you cease to be, or you continue and you cease to be, or you neither continue to be nor cease to be. And then the Buddha said, like, also that does not apply. And then the Buddha gave an example, and he said, like suppose there's a fire burning in front of you. So now there's a fire burning in front of me. Like a fire is a little bit big. A flame is burning in front of me. And then if you would ask, so then the Buddha said, like if you would be able to recognize that there's a flame. And he said, like, yes, I would be able to recognize it. And if and what would you say, like, in dependence on what is the flame there? And then Vajragota said, like, well, the flame is there in dependence of, well, in this case, like wax, of oxygen, a few things like that. Originally he said, like, the fire, it needs dried grass, it needs some wood, so then the fire is there. And then the Buddha asked, like, and if the fire was to extinguish, would you recognize it? And then Vajragota said, yes, I would recognize it. And then, if I would ask you, where did the fire go? Did it go to the north, to the south, to the east, or to the west? What would you answer? And then the Vajragota said, I would say it does not apply. It's not a good question, because the fire is there in dependence on the wood, on the grass, on oxygen. He didn't say oxygen. It was not known at that time, but oxygen, and if that is no longer there, if the conditions are no longer there, then the fire, it is extinguished. And so it's not a good question to ask, where does it go? And then the Buddha said, like, well, very much in the same way, like you ask me all these questions, they're also not very good questions. Like, where do I go after I die? Do I go in the realm of non-being, or do I continue in the realm of being, supposing that I'm already in the realm of being right now? Or is it both or neither? Or maybe none of the above. We can have like a multiple choice question, like is A, B, C, and D. And then number E is none of the above. It's none of the above because the question is not very good. And the question is not very good because it cannot help us to get in touch with the true nature of reality, with the ultimate reality. So we have seen already a couple of times that there's an historical dimension, the world of birth and death, and the world of being and non-being. And then there's an ultimate reality, or an ultimate dimension. Where these concepts of being and non-being, birth and death, do not apply. So we say it's the realm of neither being nor non-being, of no birth and no death. And so, like all these questions, they're based on the idea of a separate self and of like being and non-being. So, all those answers, they do not help us to get in touch with the ultimate dimension. I don't know how many people of you have read the book Siddhartha of Hermann Hesse. It's quite a lot, quite a lot of you. Actually, it's a really nice book. I really like it. It's a really nice book because it's very beautifully written. It's very beautiful. Well, that's what I think. It's very beautifully written. And I don't know if you remember, but there's an interesting conversation between Siddhartha and the Buddha at one point. So Siddhartha here is actually not the Buddha. It's Siddhartha is a son of a Brahmin, and the son of the Brahmin, he's also on a spiritual journey, and at one point he meets the Buddha, and he hears the Buddha give a Dharma talk, and then afterwards he meets the Buddha, and there's this conversation, and I think it's very much a conversation between Hermann Hesse and his idea of the Buddha. And so this is a conversation, like he says, like, actually, it was very good, your Dharma talk. So you talked about how everything is interrelated. So that there's a causal reality, and that everything kind of like is. You know, he didn't use that word, but like the way he described it, it was very much like that. So everything is connected with each other. But then he says like, but there's this one leak. There's a leak, you know, through this kind of like whole web where nothing can fall out. Everything is connected. Everything is co-arising. But there's this leak. And this leak is about the transcendence of the world. It's about liberation. So it is as if here in the historical dimension, there's a leak, and like the enlightened beings, they go here, nowhere to be seen afterwards. So it sounds very much like that. It is the image that I have is, it sounds like, you know, we're all here on this planet Earth, and there's gravity on this planet Earth, so we jump, but we always fall back to the Earth. So we're always caught in samsara. But if you are somebody like the Buddha, then you're like a rocket, and you can escape the field of gravity from the Earth, and then you can arrive in the ultimate dimension. So there's something lost. So there's something like a leak. And so, all very good. The Buddha says, like, okay, may you continue to contemplate, and very good that you have thought so deeply about it. But I also want to let you know that there's there's not much in opinions, and there's not much to be found in arguments, because you can agree with an opinion, or you can disagree. You can find them beautiful, or you can find them ugly. But actually, my goal is a different goal. So my goal is the ending of suffering. And so that's all very good. It's the ending of suffering. But also for us, we learn that the historical and the ultimate, they're actually not separate from one another. We don't need to go anywhere in order to touch the ultimate. So this has been a diagram that we've seen more often, and we can see that where can we touch the no birth, no death nature of the ultimate dimension? We can touch it right here in the historical dimension of birth and death. We have arrived, we are home. We don't need to go anywhere. Everything that we are looking for is already present. So there's nothing lacking. So finally, actually everything that we need is not much. We just need some concentration and some mindfulness, some concentration, and some insight to contemplate interbeing, to recognize the interconnected nature of all that is. And we can touch our no birth, no death nature. So also with concentration, we can always ask, what do we concentrate on? What is the object of our concentration? And so there's many many good answers. There's many possibilities. In the Heart Sutra that we chant quite regularly, we see that there's many objects of meditation, and that is our body, our feelings, our perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, to see that it's always changing. So, like if you talk about the soul, it very much depends on the definition of the soul. But in the time of the Buddha, from what I've heard, is that Atman, it was it's called self, but it was very much understood. You didn't need to add anything to it. It was very much understood that that was that self meant an unchanging self, a permanent self. So he did not need to add that like a separate self-entity. It was understood like that. And so this is like the Heart Sutra helps us to see the interbeing nature of all that is, and to see that everything is empty of a separate self. And because of that, we can see that the Buddha is still there, and also Thai is still there with us. So the form has changed, but we can, when we look deeply, we see that their true nature is also the nature of no coming and no going. And we see that since the time of the Buddha, so many generations have continued to practice his teachings. And so we see that whenever we are able to walk with peace, with stability, with happiness, we invite the Buddha to walk with our feet. Then we see that the Buddha is still present. We don't need to look for the Buddha. It's not a matter of looking, but it's a matter of realization. It's a matter of waking up. Not a matter of looking, but it's a matter of waking up. And so I think, as with everything, like also for our practice, we can transcend the notions of perfect and imperfect. We can transcend those. We don't need to strive. We don't need to strive very hard, because everything that we want, maybe it's peace, maybe it's happiness, is already present. It just may need one last condition for it to manifest. And maybe that last condition is one mindful in and out breath during sitting, during walking, during eating. And I think this is a great contribution to our society, because I see that our discriminative mind is already very well trained. Like, this is mine and this is yours. And the mind of connection, of interbeing, is not very well trained. And so we can practice for ourselves, and at the same time we can practice for our society, to see that that just this idea of that we are separate from one another just makes a lot of division and discrimination. And so we have the ideas of like a separate self. We are different from one another. We don't see that actually we are also our environment. And I see this environment is a very beautiful environment. And your happiness is also my happiness. And your peace is also my peace. So if we see like that, we break some boundaries in between us, and also between countries, because of course we can draw lines in the sand, like this is my country, and maybe we feel connected to each other, but at the same time we feel very disconnected from people who are outside of our country. So this is a way of seeing our interconnection, and like if we take good care of each other, we also take care of ourselves. We take good care of ourselves, we can also take care of our environment, because we need to start with ourselves, and also to see that the way we live on this planet Earth, and we take care of Mother Earth, we see that Mother Earth is actually ourselves. And maybe sometimes we have the idea of, I've had a good life, and once I pass away, then it's like that leak, like we have escaped, we go somewhere else, we're not any longer in this planet Earth. But if we look more deeply, then we see that actually we're changing in each moment, and we are also continued in our environment. We're not really going anywhere. Our true nature is the nature of no coming and no going. So also we're not really going anywhere, just like this planet Earth is not really going anywhere. Also this planet Earth has the nature of no coming, no going. There's just a continuation from moment to moment. So coming back to first Advent, we have about 25 more days until Christmas, and I really hope for us all to see it as a preparation for Christmas, not only to buy gifts or to prepare our home, like a Christmas tree and everything, but actually also to see it as an invitation to prepare ourselves to have more peace, to have more joy, relaxation in the time of Christmas. So Christmas is also just a continuation of the 4 Advents. It's not like a separate activity. We bring ourselves with us. So we can see that in this timeline, like what we practice right now can be a gift, can be an offering for ourselves, for the people around us in this very moment, and it has a continuation in the future, in the near future of Christmas and the other Advents. So please enjoy your day. It's a day of mindfulness, concentration, and insight, and we can enjoy 3 sounds of the bell just to relax and to come back to our mindful breathing and to stop all thinking. We can really do our best to come back to our breathing 100% and to stop the radio of non-stop thinking.